At Dress for Success, so many of the women we serve must navigate leading a successful career while being a full-time mother. Balancing these two roles is a huge task, so many women take it on driven by determination and love. Welcome to a new episode of More Than the Dress, the official Dress for Success podcast. I'm your host, Michele Meyer-Shipp. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a really special episode today. In honor of Mother's Day, I am joined by my three sons, Mason, Miles, and Marcus, or in age order, Miles, Marcus, and Mason. Miles is 27 years old, and he is in sports management. Marcus is 24 years old, and he is a PhD student going for his PhD in psychology. And Mason is a senior at Yale, where he is on the football team and serves in many leadership roles. And I'm really excited to have them here with us today. Before we start, I would like to ask everybody to please like us, follow us, and subscribe to More Than the Dress. Please leave a review if you enjoy the conversation so we know where to go from here. Additionally, you can go to dressforsuccess.org. And please don't forget to follow us at Dress for Success to stay updated. So with that said, let's get ready to get into the conversation. Miles, Marcus, and Mason, again, thanks for being here. I'm really excited to have you guys here with me for this podcast. You ready?
Yeah, sure am. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. So we'll start with an icebreaker. Let's kick it off with something fun, and that's near and dear to all of our hearts, football. So do we think that the Eagles are going to go to the Super Bowl again this year and win?
I will start as a hardcore Giants fan. It hurts me to say this, but I do think that they look like the best team in the NFL on both sides of the ball. And while, of course, it's going to be a competition all the way to the end, I think they could easily be in that position and win the Super Bowl again.
Okay. Mace?
I'm going to say no, just because the Lions are going to be back and healthy next year. So I'll be rooting for Detroit to beat the Eagles because of our Giants household.
Okay, cool. Excellent. And Marcus, what do you think?
And I'm going to side with Mason on this one.
So you get to answer third and pick, and you get to choose a side. I like that. That's a good strategy. All right, cool. So let's get into the topic at hand, right? So we're here to talk about motherhood. We're talking about Mother's Day. We're talking about navigating all the things between parents and their children. So the first question I want to ask you, just to kind of set the stage, is if you guys had to use one word or phrase to describe our family, what would it be and why would you use that word or phrase? And I'm going to start with Mason.
Me? Cool. My word is simple. It's fun. Just because in all of us being older now, with me being the youngest at 23, I feel like we're all grown up and we get a chance to really enjoy each other's presences. When we were younger, we had to, whatever the case may be. But now just like I have fun with each and every one of you in their own way. So I love it.
Excellent. I love that. Excellent. Marcus?
I would say connected. I think across multiple domains, like starting with physical, we all try to spend time together. We really make it a priority to be at things to support one another. I think emotionally and mentally, we try to be there as well, as connected as possible, whether that's, our family group chats, hopping on Zoom calls for people's birthdays or FaceTime, whatever it may be. We really try to be connected across all domains, so that we're all there for each other. I would say connected.
I like that. Okay. And Miles?
And I'm gonna build off Marcus's. My word is committed, because especially now with all of us moved out of the house, pretty far geographically, I think it takes a lot of effort to really maintain our relationships and continue to develop them over time, especially as we all enter different phases of our life. And as Marcus said, we talk every single day. We meet up at games. Whenever there's a down period of a holiday, we take a trip together or visit home. So all in all, I think we all put in the necessary work to continue building our relationships and enhancing this family. So yeah, I'm going to go with committed.
I like that. I like that a lot. So fun, committed, and connected. Awesome. I love those descriptions. Thank you. I think I did a good job. We can just stop here. Just kidding. Just kidding. We're not stopping here. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about just your experience watching me navigate my career. So the topic is around watching mom kind of as a professional and a leader. How did watching me navigate my career make you think about your own careers and aspirations today? And anybody can take that to start.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I'm happy to start. I think watching you was a really cool experience. It was something special. And I think it made me a lot of times realize what I wanted in my career, maybe what I didn't want as much in my career, and kind of helped me form what was realistic and really taught me that anything was possible. At times you were traveling, 5 out of the 7 days a week, but still making it to football games and competitions and concerts. And that was just for us. And you still were able to go to other things for like your niece's recitals and stuff. And so I think seeing how much you were a leader on the professional and work front, how much you were being a mother, while also navigating just a crazy hectic schedule, having 3 kids and like all different types of activities, it made me realize that I too can have certain things in my career and kind of, defy the odds in some sense, with, being everywhere at once. And at times I'm sure you felt like you couldn't be at everything, but, I think you really still made it a goal to be, and you did. And that made me realize I can have that in my career. I don't just have to work here, be a parent, and with my family over here, these things can also be connected. So yeah, I think it really taught me a lot about what I wanted for myself.
Excellent. I love that. Miles, how about you?
Yeah, I was going to say another thing that's always stuck out to me is your ability to incorporate things of interest on a personal level into your career. So more recently, with your presence on the Fritz Pollard board, your presence on the LPGA board, you really prioritize, I have one role where this is my primary role, but at the same time, it doesn't mean you can't incorporate things that you like at a personal level. So especially me, as I've gotten into my career, beginning at a law firm and now getting into sports, I think since day one, I'm like, okay, yes, I need to grind and, work through some jobs that, may not necessarily be my utmost interest, but at the same time, there's an opportunity to, hey, if I'm interested in sports, you can talk to the right person to learn more about it. And now I work in sports, and there's obviously aspects in the sports industry that I like more than others. And I'm connected enough and can speak to people to learn more, and really just incorporate that into my day-to-day. So yeah, just looking at how you have prioritized incorporating things of interest in your career has really inspired me to do the same.
Awesome. Love that. Love that. Okay, Mason, you're up.
I mean, 2 great answers, so I don't know how much more I have to say. The main thing I'll say is that watching you navigate your career has just taught me what it means to work hard. You're on the road all the time. You're doing your thing, but you're also a present mom my whole life. You're showing up to games. We all had hectic schedules, and you always showed up. And like, I would never know, how busy you actually were until I got a chance to grow up and really appreciate you for it. So just being able to respect the fact that like you set the standard on what it means to work hard. So now for us, like, we're all doing great things now because of the example that you set for us.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that a lot. Let me ask you this, because a lot of the women that we work with who are moms, and many of them single moms, they worry that by trying to juggle and do it all, somehow they're shortchanging their children. And this wasn't in the script, so bear with me. I tend to do this on the podcast. But did you ever, like watching all of that, everything you just described, did you ever feel shortchanged as compared to like some of the other parents, and in particular moms who were stay-at-home moms, like, and your friends who had stay-at-home moms? Like, did you ever, because that was something that I actually often wondered, like, would I be a better mom if I was not working?
I think there's benefits to all sides, but I think, you as a working mom leads to different situations. In our situation, it led to, Mason hit it right on the head. Just watching you day to day, I think, forces all to embody a level of hard work that, we just want to replicate in our day-to-day lives, whether it's in the classroom, on the field, in the gym, wherever that be. And then at the same time, I think there's a level of independence that we all develop just given your working schedule. It is not to say that you weren't around. You were around a ton. But at the same time, whether it's, you have to work till 7:30 p.m. and dinner has to be ready. Yeah, we're middle schoolers or early high schoolers, but, we're not young. We're not too young to start making dinner, making spaghetti, making some frozen food, helping provide for the team. So I think that's been really beneficial. And yeah, Marks and Mason, I'm not sure if you guys have anything else to add there.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, I think it also led to a sense of understanding, because even if you couldn't make things, you still made an effort to ask for pictures, give us a call after, a good luck text before, whatever it may be. And it made me think about how, our friends who maybe had parents who were stay-at-home parents or able to come to everything. It made me understand the reason you weren't there was not like you didn't want to be there. And all the effort that you put in to still make sure you were as present as you could be, even if you physically could not be there. It just made me understand that like she's working, she has a job and she's providing for us. And, I don't think I ever felt like shortchanged. If anything, I think it made me feel more supported because you made so much of a conscious effort to still reach out and show your support if you physically couldn't be there to support.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. And Mason, I'm thinking you're saying ditto.
Yeah, nothing else to add on that. That was great.
I figured it. I was watching your gestures and I was like, I think that's a ditto. Okay, cool. So Miles, I think it's up to you now to kick me some.
Of course. So, you've asked us a ton of questions, but obviously I think you have been busy ever since we have been born. And I think as one question for you is like, what's one thing that we have taught you about balancing ambition and family? I'm sure there's a lot of people in a similar situation as you have experienced at some point in time. So just wondering your answer to that.
Yeah. So what you guys have taught me how to do, well, the first thing you taught me was how early in my career, I thought about success. So when I started my career, Dad and I got married, we started our career, like we had dreams of what success looked like, but it wasn't until we had you that my personal definition of success changed. Success wasn't about, the big job with the big salary and the big everything. It was about having healthy, happy, well-adjusted children who I was able to support in a loving and nurturing way. And that became my definition for success. So I wasn't chasing any particular job or thing. I was actually just looking to find that right balance so I could give you guys the things you needed. I think the other thing that I jotted down here too was that having 3 children and Marcus and Mason, you guys really close to one another, taught me the art of prioritizing. And I had to make decisions. I had to learn when to say yes to things, no to things. Like you guys pointed to earlier, there were things I couldn't go to, things I could go to. There were choices to be made. So I learned how to prioritize. So I would say redefining success and prioritization, Miles, were a couple of the things that you guys have taught me.
No, that's awesome. And this is off script for sure. But an immediate thought that came to my mind is, how has that definition of success changed as we've aged? Because obviously we've gone through a lot of different phases of our lives. I'm 27, pushing 30 now, moved in Boston. Mason's about to graduate college, living in New Haven. Mark's is about to embark on a new PhD program for the next couple of years. And rumor has it exploring moving out. So, there's always change. And I think that definitely can impact your definition of success. And I'm just wondering if you've experienced any of that at all.
That's actually a great question. And it is funny. I am now redefining success for me I think about this. And Mason, you and I had this discussion before you went to college. It's like, okay, Mom, I'm leaving. I'm the last kid here. You said this to me. You're like, what are you going to do to be happy in your career? What are you going to do something that brings you joy? And that actually was a huge factor. That led me to re-examine what I wanted for this, next chapter of my career. Now I'm 3 years into that chapter, but it was really that stopping and looking and going, okay, I defined success around nurturing and raising this family and doing it well. And I prioritized. Now they're all out doing their thing. And now I need to figure out what that next thing is. So that the pivot was, okay, take a deep breath, sigh relief. Now, what do you want to do with this next journey to find joy and real fulfillment in the core of the work that you're doing?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Good. Cool. I think one of the things, so we came up with some cool questions around things we might all address. I'm very curious for you guys. There were little hacks that I used to have, working mom, little tricks that I used to try to do that sometimes went wrong, Does anything come to mind for you when you think about that?
I don't know. It's funny because Marcus and I were just laughing about the question beforehand. I think that some of them have to do really just with food, like just like easy ways for prepared. Like we got down staple meals that to this day I think our family still cooks. I think a working mom hack is a crock pot, is having someone figure out a simple meal to make sure that when dinner time comes around, no one's stressed. You don't have to stress. We don't have to stress, and everything's kind of easy.
Yeah, and I surely had problems with the crock pot, the instant pot, and all the things. But to Miles's point, you guys did a great job in picking up the pots yourselves. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I think that we did. I do recall throwing out a crock pot or two. So
now, why'd you have to go there?
But yeah, I agree with Mason. I would say definitely around food.
Yeah, okay. And I do recall a microwave fire, but I had nothing to do with that. So
that was me.
Call out.
Yeah, that was me.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
What's a classic moment, a classic mom moment that still makes you laugh today?
So I've been waiting for this one because I'm not sure how many people that listen to your podcast or know you are aware that you used to coach flag and tackle football when we were younger. So while it's not necessarily like hilarious, I think it's hilarious looking back to that time and just seeing, hey, you were a full-blown football coach. But I think it just highlighted your dedication. Going back to what I said earlier on in the conversation, is like your dedication to us, one, and your commitment to, incorporating things into your life that you love that may be a little bit unconventional. But I just, every time I think about that, I just die laughing because I see pictures of you out there, or just envision you in the field blowing your whistle, screaming at some little kids, telling them to run the ball or get up after they hit the ground.
That was it. I love so that love of football goes way back. That's
Sure does.
Anything come to mind for you guys?
I would say a classic mom moment for me would be your random dance parties. And every time either you're connecting to the speakers or playing music on your phone, just running around the house, dancing in every room, trying to grab us to dance with you, or whoever's in the house, grabbing their hand and making them dance. So I just think about that. And I think that happens pretty regularly. So I think even maybe yesterday you were having a dance party too. So those definitely make me laugh. But
I love that.
I think there's too many of them. But I would say my favorite is at the dinner table when you try to recount a story that you may have told 96 times. And but you promised us it was your first time telling us it. And I was like, we heard the story. We don't know if the story's true, but it's just a story. And I mean, those things to this day, I think that makes the whole family laugh, and we love it. So it's a core moment.
Yeah.
Thanks for like blasting me out there. It's all good. Everybody can laugh at that. That's good stuff. All right, cool. Marcus, you're up.
Yeah. So now I have a few questions for you as well. I'm curious what values matter most to you now as a mom. And I think this kind of also builds off Miles's question before about success. What other values are important to you?
That's great question. So I actually wrote these down because I really wanted to be thoughtful about them because they're all significant, and we don't have enough time for me to define what they mean, but I'm going to tell you what they are. I think as a parent, some of the values that I wanted to espouse, and I hope I did all along the way, one was patience, because you got to have patience dealing with 3 young men, once little boys and babies. You have to have a core value around unconditional love, like loving each of you no matter what, and like pushing through the good times, the bad times, the hard times, the challenges. Like the unconditional love of a parent is a core value. I also think sacrifice, because when you become a parent, you have to give up some things. It's not about you. It's not about you first, for sure. Always your dad and I, always what we wanted came last. It was always what you guys needed first. And I think empathy, caring, and compassion, like those core, like being able to give you that hug when you needed it, to talk you through a hard time when you were navigating it, whatever it might be, I think is another one. And then I would say guidance / mentorship along the way, and kind of coaching you through the different phases of your lives that you were going through. So unconditional love, sacrifice, patience, guidance, empathy, and the last one I will say is integrity. Role modeling what integrity looks like so you guys could go in the world and also live a life of integrity.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I'm kind of curious if any of these lessons or any other lessons came from your own upbringing and how your upbringing may have shaped how you approach parenting.
Definitely. Yes, yes, and yes, and yes. And I think, it's funny when I think about the guidance and mentorship part, my parents always told me that I could be anything I wanted to be. And it was really important that they told me that, because when I was coming up in middle school and high school, I had teachers and administrators trying to point me in certain directions, including not going to college. I literally had a vice principal tell me that I didn't need to think about going to college because I wouldn't amount to anything. I had a vice principal tell me that. Had I listened to that principal or that vice principal, I wouldn't be here today. But it was because your grandparents empowered me with the fact that I could be all I could be, that happened. And of course, they were always nurturing, caring, and all the things. And they taught me to lead with integrity. So yes, I did have two parents who role modeled all of that for me.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And I could see that even, as they are as grandparents. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. I think it's my turn now to ask you some questions. So I'm going to go through this. All right. Let's see. On the topic of values, what are some of the values and principles that I have passed along to you guys that stick with you the most? Mace?
I can start. I would say, I said it before, I'll say it again, maybe differently. I said hard work before, so I'll just say maybe dedication now. You and just growing up with dad and just seeing how y'all work, seeing how hard you kind of really go at your work from day to day, but then come home and are phenomenal parents to us. Like, how are we, growing up, super grateful, super blessed, going to do anything other than work hard now? Because it's like, you all set the standard for us. We know how both of you were raised, and you've kind of taken such good care of us now. It's kind of like, I feel like we all feel in a way an obligation to just understand the standard that we have and kind of just continue raising it, because what else would we try to do? So dedication for sure. You all the most dedicated people I know. So definitely sticks with me every day.
Awesome. I love it. Miles?
Yeah, I'll add another one to the list. Mason took my first one of dedication, but I guess great minds think alike. The other one I had was you always and always have treated people with the utmost respect. And I think that really impacts your ability to build genuine relationships with people. And I'm finding it more and more as I progress through my career path is so much of your success is based off relationships. And especially as you become more successful, it becomes easier to brush people off, or oh, this person's not important. I'm higher than them. I don't really need to know them. Oh, this person's not important. But I'm constantly reminded how small the world is and how people come back around in your life. And when you build genuine relationships, one, people respect you with the same level of, respect. I mean, use the same word twice in the same sentence. But at the same time, people genuinely like working with you. And it opens up the door to several opportunities that, you would have never had the opportunity to even see or recognize if you brush this person off at the beginning. So I think that's something that has always stuck with me, and I am very intentional about emphasizing in my day-to-day life is just, building true, genuine relationships with people, just starting at a base level of treating them with respect.
That's awesome. Awesome. Thanks. Marcus?
Yeah, that's great. And for me, I think one of the values that stands out the most is authenticity. I remember growing up, just you always challenging all of us to be our authentic selves, and whatever that may be, whether it was in the activities that you wanted to do, the personality traits that you have, you always just really challenged us to be and lean into what we wanted to be. And so I just think back about all the things we're all so different in so many ways. And that's because you and dad really embrace this culture around being your authentic self in the house.
That's awesome. I love that. I'm really happy.
I will say, we did not communicate at all. And I wrote down 4 things and we just named 3 of them.
Wow. Really? That's
we did not
awesome.
Talk at all.
That's awesome.
The last one I had was just commitment to family. But I think we've covered that earlier in the conversation. but I just think it speaks to how aligned we are and just the values that you instilled in us without communicating, but name the exact same like principles
cool.
that we had to name. That speaks
awesome.
volumes.
I love that. Oh my God, you guys are making my day. Thank you. I'm going to jump around because some of the questions we had scripted, we've talked about. So I'm going to jump to a fun one. What are some of the everyday rituals or small habits that you think keep us connected even when life is busy? And I'm wondering if we're all going to say the same thing here.
I can get started. I think mine has kind of changed since I moved out a couple years back, but I'd say it was always like family dinners. Yeah, you know. Yep,
That's it.
The family dinners, the kitchen table is a sacred place in the household. You know, you come there. Yes, some people every once in a while will take their phones out, but it was pretty much a no phone zone. You sit there and we can sit there for 30 minutes or we can sit there for 4 hours. I remember nights where we sat down at 6 p.m. and turned around and it was 10:30 p.m. and the dog hasn't been walked. You know, the conversation that happens at the table kind of unscripted, unplanned, just goes, talk about your day, catch up, talk about your feelings, and it goes places that you would have imagined. And I think that speaks volumes to the relationships that we all have with each other, and that you can sit down and just talk for hours on end and just enjoy each other's presence. And now that I've moved out, I missed that. But at the same time, I think whether it's going on vacations or whenever I visit home or calling, every once in a while, I call home and everybody's at the kitchen table. Is really important, just the level of communication that we maintain.
I love that. I was going to say dinner too. Marcus and Mason, how about you guys?
Yeah, I was also going to say family dinner. I remember being in high school and people would know, like, I'm not going to answer my phone between 6 and 10 p.m. because I'm at family dinner. And people always wanted to come to family dinner. They're like, oh my gosh, like family dinner is such a big thing in the Shipp household. Like, I want to come. I want to see and experience what family dinner is like. And I remember having that hype around it all the time. And now being home and kind of in a different capacity with Miles and Mason not in the house and having family dinner, we still have those deep conversations. I think even if it's Miles calling on his way home from work and me, you and Dad are at the table and then we're like, let's conference Mason in, or, you know, we still try to have those conversations. And like Miles said, if it's vacation or other things where we're all together, we still have those family dinners. So even now they exist just in a different capacity. But that is just a core value that we have. And even if it's over like via text in our group chat, like the group chat is always going off all day. You look down at your phone, you're going to have like 100 messages. Like we're always talking. And so I think, yeah, family dinner is a big one for me too.
Love that. Love that. Mace?
I was going to say, just switch it up a little bit. How it resonates today is probably phone calls. I try my best to time up times where I can FaceTime home and like I catch all of you at once, meaning Marcus, Miles, Marcus, mom, dad. But like being able to do the FaceTimes, being able to do the phone calls is a way to us to have like an impromptu like family dinner just on the phone. But I mean, we're all super connected. And then my favorite is the group chat. We have a group chat that we're always talking in, you know, if it's just random banter or if it's articles, whatever the case may be, the group chat's always rolling every single day. There probably does not a day that goes by without us talking in the group chat. So that's huge.
That's awesome. I love that.
I was just going to add, like, I think the underlying theme here is just, you know, the over communication, because I know there's a lot of people out there that don't have the ability to have family dinners every night, is with different circumstances. But the underlying theme is just like, hey, we like talking to each other. And whether it manifests at family dinner, in the group chat, on calls, at a game, no matter where it be, great conversations happen, and just remind you, like, this is family. This is my base right here. So whether or not, you know, the family dinner is physical, family dinner is an overarching theme.
That's exactly right. I love that. It's funny. Family dinners is what I had written down on my notes too. And Mason, I think you make a really good point. I think, you know, with all of you not always there all the time, the phone calls and the virtual definitely does the thing. And I love that. So thank you guys. All right, cool. I'm going to shift up our little agenda a little bit because we're going to run out of time in a few minutes. So Miles, if we go to that section on generational learning, feel free to pick any one of those questions you want to pitch out there.
Yeah. And I mean, I really like this section because even as a 27-year-old man, I see a lot of shifts in just thinking in different generations, whether I'm looking at Marx or Mason, who are very close in age, even them two have very different thoughts. So I guess the one question I want to ask you is, do you think our generation looks at success, identity, or purpose differently from yours? Because obviously times are very different. Technology has evolved a ton. We have everything's different from back in your day, but
Yes, yes, I love that. Back in my day. Oh Lord,
I
you
know
just
I said
aged
that. I'm
me
like,
big
oh, that
time.
may have not come out well,
That's
but
just so deep, but it's okay. You can pay me back later. You owe me on that one, but it's a great question, and I love it too. I think the answer is, let me just repeat it. Right? You asked me, do you think our generation, your generation, looks at success, identity, and purpose differently than my generation?
yes.
And I think the answer to that is absolutely 100% yes. I think you guys define success more organically. If you remember when we talked about my earlier answer, I said my first definition of success when I was your age was all about my career aspirations until I had you guys. I think now your generation is not defining success in the first instance based on that title or the stuff. I think you guys define success more broadly and holistically to think about success in all corners of your life. You're thinking about your health. You're thinking about your mental health, your physical health. You're thinking about your environment, where you're living. You're thinking about creature comforts at the basic level. I think you're thinking about it much more holistically in a way that's more real and sustainable, honestly. I think in identity, definitely, I think there's a better approach to looking at identity. I think this generation, your generation, embraces all of your identities. You don't put yourself in a box. You appreciate that being able to embrace your identities is important, and being able to appreciate and respect the identities of others, I think you also value. At least I know you three do. And the people who you have brought into our home, your friend groups who I've met, they all are the same. And everybody is really welcoming and appreciative of their multiple identities and personality traits and styles and characteristics, but they also really value it in all of you guys together as friends. So I think that's really beautiful, because I remember coming up, I felt more of like a status thing or a people being put in box kind of thing. And I don't really see that with you. And that's why I love hanging out with you guys and your friends so much, because none of that is there. I think purpose, definitely. I also think there's a difference there. I think you guys think about a sense of purpose, again, much more holistically. And it's not just about getting things done because it has to get done, but you're really thinking and pondering deeply the why. And you're thinking about the why, not only as it relates to you and how you get by, but how you're helping others get by. And again, it may be unique to you as my sons that I see that, but from some of the other youth and young people that I've mentored and talked to, I seem to think that they have a broader view of it as well. And I think it's a good thing. So I'm really excited to see what this next generation, you and your peers, do with kind of a more broad, holistic viewpoint on success, identity, and purpose. That's a great question.
No, yeah, that's a great answer. And kind of to that end, you mentioned values. Is there anything that you value a lot growing up and even early on down in your career path that you look back now and you're like, maybe I shouldn't have valued that as much as I did?
I think in my career, outside of family, I think there was a point in time in which I was chasing titles.
Yeah.
So I'd be in a company and I'd be looking for the next title or the next, like immediately wanting the next promotion or whatever. At the time, and this was early in my career, not appreciating that there is a path, there are steps, there is learning that has to take place, and it can't be rushed. I ultimately picked that up and got off that rabbit race, or that hamster wheel rather.
Yep.
But early on in my career, I did kind of go in with okay, this is supposed to happen, then that's supposed to happen, then this is supposed to happen. And it was boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But I learned better later. And I think it all worked out definitely for the best.
Sure did.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So I'm going to bring us to a close with one last question. So as we get ready to celebrate Mother's Day I guess, what would you say as a takeaway that you would like to leave for the moms listening? And then we can go from there.
I've said it a couple times now, but I feel like even in my day to day, this is very important to me. It's just like communication is so critical to any relationship, whether you're there a ton or you're not there at all. Because at the end of the day, it's like if you're not there, you don't have to be in person. But as long as your son or daughter understands that you're there for them and that you're an ear for them for no matter what the issue is or topic is, that goes so far that you can't even imagine. Because that carries with your children throughout their lives, whether they're 15, 20, 30. I watch you guys. You guys call your parents every single day, and that's thanks to the communication that you guys had early on in your lives, and that sticks. So yeah, that's just one thing that I'd say to the moms out there today.
I like that. Marcus or Mason, anything there?
Yeah, I would say also, don't feel the guilt if you can't always make something, you can't always be there. I think especially for the working moms, it really is a balancing act to manage all the demands that you face from family, from work, also just like societally. There is a lot going on. And I think to Miles's point, if you have that foundation of communication and we know that you want to be there for things, but it's not always possible to make everything, that's okay. And I really think the mother's guilt is like a real thing sometimes that people feel, especially working moms. And there's nothing like a mother's support and a mother's love. And that really is, like Miles said, built from a lot of communication. So I think that is my piece.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'll say first, happy Mother's Day if you're a mom listening to this. And then secondly, what I'll say is the main thing that I always would say is just practice gratitude and joy in anything you do. Like, joy is contagious. Happiness is contagious. And if you take that approach in life to be happy and to just like appreciate everyone around you, appreciate those with you, it's super contagious to your family and super contagious to your sons. And I think that I always talk to you about it, Mom. Just being happy with what you do, smiling and just like having that joy everywhere you go, because it'll rub off on everybody else around you. And, even if things aren't currently good, I believe that things will be good. And, just celebrate and be happy in that.
Awesome. I love it.
Well, Mom, my last question for you is, as we wrap up and as we celebrate Mother's Day, what's the message you want to send to moms out there listening to this episode about motherhood, parenting and all things in that neighborhood?
Great one. Thank you for that, Mace. I think it really is. I mean, you guys gave some really good insights on how motherhood done right helps us all in the long run. You talked about how the values, the practices, the principles that you saw in the household from me, from your dad, have helped you today. So I think there actually are some really good takeaways here for moms who are listening, and even dads who might be listening, about things that they can do and instill in practices in their homes to really help enrich their families. I mean, the family dinner example is a good one. And even if somebody can't do a family dinner, like you said, Mason, finding other ways to communicate and be in constant communication. I would say, you guys made me really happy today to hear, like, I feel like my work here with you all has been well done, and I'm very grateful and blessed for that. I would say what any parent ever wants to really hear from their kids is that, like, you did me right. You set me up for success. I actually like to hear every now and again when one of you says, yeah, Mom, you were right about that. Every now and again, a couple of you have called me and admitted that, and that feels great. And then what I can't wait to hear from you guys one day is, I got you, Mom. I got you. So like the other night when Miles paid for my dinner.
I was just going to say that. That came to my head and we said, I got you.
That was great. That was a beautiful moment. So you think about the changing times, you guys are growing up and all the things. When you took that bill, that said everything. So I love it. I love you guys. Thank you so much for this great discussion. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms who are listening. Enjoy your time with your families. And again, Miles, Marcus, and Mason, thanks for joining me for the podcast and being a part of my work and what I do every day. I was happy to do this with you guys.
Yes, we love you too. Thanks for having us.